ready to go.
It is rare to have this week off. How do you approach it? How does it help you?
You just have to be locked in. It's a simple and short answer, but attention to detail and know what we're doing defensively, offensively, tendencies. It's a locked into detail type week.
What did you miss about this time of year for a team?
There's nothing better than playoff basketball, especially in this city. So, we haven't done it here in a couple years. So, to be able to play in front of our fans in the playoffs, it's a special thing and something that should be, cherished. And, we're obviously very excited.
You and other ball handlers had a lot of success against the Bucks during the season, especially that last game in Milwaukee. Why do you think that was, and do you feel like there's anything that can be repeatable about that when this series does start?
Yeah, that's the regular season. The playoffs is a whole different animal. You obviously look at what you did well against them, but we're not going to expect the same things. We have to go in there and control what we can control, and that's our effort, the way we play. The attention to detail that I talked about, that's the stuff that we need to be locked in on.
How do you expect pace to change? You guys obviously are still going to want to run. It seems like generally the playoff style slows things down. How do you expect that to sort of balance itself?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's playoff basketball. Teams that play fast, typically the other team will try to slow them down, and we've got to try to get out and still run and do what we do best. Makes and misses.
What's changed about them, and in particular, they've obviously focused on trying to get better transition defense overall. What you guys were able to do. Have you seen anything on film that tells you this is where they're better as far as that's concerned?
I think I read somewhere that when Adrian Griffin was there, they were 6th in rim defense, and then when Doc got there, they're 1. So that's what they do. They're elite at it, and Lopez is an elite shot blocker. So we've got to have a plan and have vision when we go down there and try to get good shots.
The bench was such a positive factor all season long. When you get to the playoffs, there's talk of shorter rotations. How do you ensure that still is an impact in the series?
The best and main thing is to just stay ready, because your number can be called at any moment in the playoffs. Shorter rotations or not, every guy's going to be needed, and we just have to stay ready.
Rick's known for being kind of a tactician. This is your first postseason with him. What has already maybe stood out to you about what he's done for you guys this week?
Yeah, he's obviously a very smart guy, but he's also not trying to overcomplicate anything. We have to clean up stuff, and there's stuff that we do well that we're continuing to try to get better at. And I think that's the thing that's best about him. He's not filling our minds with a ton of stuff on one day. It's throughout the entire week and getting better each day.
Particularly in the backcourt, it's you and then Ty, Ben, and Andrew have never played in a playoff game before. Have you had to talk with them about it all, what this could look like? Have there been any sort of conversations like that?
Yeah, I think they kind of get the gist of what it's about, but they don't. You can't really understand until you actually do it. If they ask, I tell them, or if I see something, I'll help them. Pascal's been in it. James, Miles, Aaron. There's guys that have played in the playoffs here that know what to expect and are obviously helping out the guys that haven't.
I asked you about Ben a couple of times, but during this season, have you tried to make a point to look out for him, give him advice, spend time with him?
Ben Sheppard?
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's just obviously a great player, but an amazing human being. I think you guys have gotten to know him. The kid doesn't have a bad day. He's always smiling. And you want to be around people like that. And he's going to have a very long career just by the way he plays and treats people.
Was there an instant connection or a time you were like, I'm going to mentor him a little bit?
I think as soon as I got here and as soon as he got here, it was kind of, he connects with everybody. That's a superpower of his, and guys just want to joke around with him and talk to him. Just a great human being. So it was one of those easy connections, I think, for all of us.
What about his game specifically has impressed you through his rookie year? I guess from October to now.
I think just being that Swiss Army knife for us. One day he's spotting up in the corner and shooting threes. He's guarding the other team's best player. He's cutting getting to the rim. He does everything for us, and that's what makes him a great player.
Have you gotten a sense from the fans and from people across the city just the excitement and what it means to have this team back in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, you saw the game against Atlanta to, kind of clinched to get into the playoffs. It's basketball country here, and the people of Indiana love basketball, and what better way to, have them come and support than playoff basketball. So I think everyone's very excited, as are we, and we want to go out there and make them proud.
Well, we have to strategize what to do for this week-long period. It in effect becomes a mini training camp, but we got to figure out the right amount of hard work to do and the right amount of rest and rehab, strength work as needed. So, I mean, that's one thing. I have a great staff, and I delegate a lot of responsibility to all of them, and so we meet and I let them do their thing, and we get a practice schedule together every day, and we make sure we're in lockstep on that, and then we get going. But and as far as everything else, just work to help these guys prepare for an elevated level of everything.
Now with the play and that gap is longer between the final day and the first playoff game, do you find that advantageous, bad? Like, how do you kind of see how that impacts what this week is?
Whatever it is, I like it. Whatever it is, I like it. I mean, my first year here in 2003, 2004, we had a sweep in the first round. We had a 12-day break until the second playoffs here. So, long breaks, whether you're going into the first series or going into another series, those things can happen. And then it can also happen where you play a game 7 and then less than 48 hours, you're in another city playing game 1. And they've had very little prep time. So that's one thing about the NBA that's great. You learn early on that this is probably the greatest preparation crucible that there is in sports. The things that you prepare for on short notice during the regular season, prepare you for situations like this that are different.
What are you imagining how pace is going to go for this thing? I mean, obviously, that playoff basketball tends to be more possession by possession. Obviously, you guys are still going to want to run. How do you see that balancing out, I guess? Or do you still look at it as play as fast as you can, and if they stop, they stop?
We're going to do everything that we can do to get stops and try to keep them off the free throw line. I mean, that's a basic thing. That's certainly no secret. And look, we want to play with tempo. Playoffs are going to be different than the regular season. I acknowledge that. I think everybody acknowledges that. But the notion that it has to be a walk-it-up game, I'm not necessarily subscribing to that or believing that. Well, we're looking forward to it. This is one of the great things about this kind of opportunity and challenge for a young team. They find out how it's different, why it's different, and the how of working to be successful. And it's a great experience.
It's the first playoffs for a good chunk of your guys. How do you explain that newness to them about what's different, about what they're getting into?
Well, we need to normalize things as much as we can on the one hand. On the other hand, they know this is going to be different. It's going to be an elevated stage. They know that there's going to be all these games are on national TV. There's going to be a lot more external noise going on, and one of my jobs is to make sure that we try to direct our focus toward the things that we need to do. Try to ignore the unnecessary external noise, because there will be a lot. There's a lot of it in a playoff series. By the time you start, by the time you finish, you're going to see and hear everything. And we've got to take care of who we are and what sets us up best to have success. And it's going to be hard. I mean, I told the guys today, this is a championship team. A lot of guys that have had major deep playoff experience, and they're big and physical, and so it's going to be hard. And we got to embrace the difficulty of this, and be ready for everything and anything that's going to come up.
How do you see the value of having one guy who has won a title on this team in Pascal? How important do you think that becomes now at the stretch? It's always big. It's been big since you got him, but as you enter into these playoffs, having one guy that's been through it somewhat recently and won a championship.
Yeah, I mean, early in the year we had Bruce here, and that was helpful. And there were times that he would speak up, or I'm sure there were instances where he would talk to guys in the locker room about what it's about. And I know that a lot of our guys asked him, what's it like winning a championship, being in the finals, those kinds of things. But Pascal's going to have that same pedigree, in our locker room, and it helps a lot. And he's been through all this, and he understands the importance of us being ourselves. Embracing, the elevated compete level, and just doing us as much as we can.
What is the balance of focusing on what you do and what you want to do and plan to do in the series versus what the Bucks do and planning for what they could throw at you?
You looking for like a number?
How do you strategize that, starting with what you do, starting with what they do?
We get together as a staff and we talk about it. I really believe that in today's game, there's a lot more of focusing on your own team. Certainly, prep for an opponent is a big deal, but we all have the same problems. We're all trying to stop transition. We're all trying to take away layups at the rim, and we're all trying to take away the good threes. And so, a lot of that stuff is, comes back to basic concepts. So, in essence, you're talking about the opponent in a lot of these instances, but you're getting back to your base defense and your basic principles. And this is not a reinvention for the playoffs. This is where you've got to be really good at what you've been good at. You got to do what you can to cover weaknesses. And then, you got to do a good job in the detail parts of the game. Free throw block out. You got to manage, ball security and those kinds of things. And you got to rebound the ball.
It's already stood out to you this week about how different this is versus the day-to-day grind of the regular season.
I just say how detail-oriented we've been going about things. The intensity that the players are bringing in practice shows a lot. It shows how much focus is required for this type of environment, and I think we're ready for it. So.
Been easy for you to adjust to it and how different it is?
Definitely. Scouting, all that stuff, I think I can pick up very well on that. And intensity, I feel like I'm always bringing energy to practices and games and all that stuff. So it's been an easy transition, and it should be a fun experience.
A lot has changed since the 5 previous games against the Bucks, one of which is your role. What do you remember about those games in particular as you watched?
They were all.
Maybe weren't even at all of them, were you? Were some of you at the G League, or?
You talking about the first 5 games?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember the first 5 games, to be honest. It's been a whirlwind.
Against the Bucks.
Oh, against the Bucks.
Yeah.
I wasn't even playing mostly in those first 5 games, but just watch from the bench, learning their players, learning stuff that they do offensively. Definitely learned a lot from that experience. So.
How would you sum up the last 2 months and how you acclimated to this role that you have?
I feel like I've done a good job. I've played within myself. Asked what the coaches wanted me to do. Just brought intensity on both sides of the floor, and just learning along the way. So.
What do you think the biggest stride you made in your game was? Where do you feel like you obviously came in playing with a lot of energy, putting a lot of attention to detail on defense? Where do you think you got that?
Probably say ball screens, the physicality of that. I just learned a lot getting through, especially with different bigs in this league. It could be difficult for some people, but I feel like I've acclimated very well to that. So.
Was there a turning point for that? I mean, it just, was there something in particular you had to figure out as to how to do it? when they're technique-wise?
I'd just say the versatility of the players that I'm guarding. I'm guarding 1 through 3. Whoever my matchup is, I got to adjust to how they play. I've guarded a lot of great players in that perspective, so yeah, just learn along the way.
Did your dad text you before every game, right?
Yeah.
Do those ramp up in intensity when the games also become more intense?
Definitely. Towards the end of the season, texts start getting a little bit longer. Yeah, just hype me up a little bit more, but yeah.
Are there post-game texts too?
A little bit, sometimes, depending on what happened or stuff like that, but yeah.
It's one thing to say treat it like any other game. How do you try to do that when you acknowledge the stakes are higher and the spotlight is so much bigger?
Just staying calm, believing in myself, believing in my teammates, trusting the work that you put in, and just having fun. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity as a rookie. Not a lot of people can say that, and yeah, just taking it day by day. So.
Think back to when you met TJ McConnell. Did you think then that he would have the relationship that you do with him, and how's he helped you this season?
Right when I met TJ, I knew we'd be great friends and great teammates together. But yeah, just watching how he plays, how he goes about his work on the defensive end for me, especially, I look up to him a lot. And yeah, just focusing on playing hard. So.
How about how he played the last 2 months?
He's played great. He's like our heart and soul of our team. And off that bench, the energy that he brings every day is just super important to our success. So.
What are some of the most important things you learned from him? We obviously see you hang out in pregame all the time. In terms of just how he operates, what are the most important things you learned, picked up from?
Yeah, he tells me that you can't teach a motor, you can't teach hard work. That's something that you can control yourself. And I think that's the most important thing that I've taken from him. But some things he talks to me about on the court is just me being aggressive offensively, especially when sometimes things aren't going my way. Just sticking to it and just playing my game. And I think he's my #1 fan. So.
Do you remember much about your series in the finals against the Bucks 3 years ago?
Yes and no. I try to say no because I lost, so I try to forget it. But at the end of the day, I understand the game plan that we had, I mean, obviously, I think Giannis actually got hurt that final series. We was up like 2-1 and then we lost it. But I mean, it's a whole new series now at this point, so that's what I'm excited for.
They have a lot of the same players, but they kind of play a lot different. What similarities and differences do you see in that team from then to now?
Pretty much, I mean, obviously they got a lot of shooters around Giannis now. I mean, obviously we had Jay when we was with the Suns, but now he's over there. So it's like, that's one of the huge differences. I mean, obviously they put a whole bunch of defensive guys around him like Pat Bev, Jay, Connaughton, obviously Bobby Portis. And then, I mean, obviously it's pretty much the same team, but like you said, it's a few pieces here and there that's different.
You have that experience of that run. How is that helping you now that you guys are in it, this team is in it, in terms of prep and all that?
I mean, it helps a lot because, I had a lot of great vets with me, helping me out throughout that entire playoff run. They gave me tits and bits here and there, and I try to add it to us as well. I mean, obviously I didn't get the playing experience, but overall I got the mental aspect of it and like how crucial each game is and how crucial it is to try to come out with at least one win on the road. And our mindset going into this is just to play hard and give it our all, no matter who's on the court.
Is it different to be back in now that you do play in every game you're in the rotation versus what your role was back then?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, obviously, just sitting back and watching and experiencing, it was tough. I mean, obviously, as a competitor, you want to be out there and play, but you got to understand that it just wasn't my turn yet. And now, 4 years later, I'm back in the same spot. So it's like, just being ready and being prepared mentally just to go out there and compete.
What did you learn just about how the game changes in playoffs? Just based on how style of play is different, how it seems like it's just a more possession-by-possession game. What did you learn about what to expect from what things are like in the court?
Pretty much it's a lot more physical. There's less calls made. I mean, obviously here and there you get a tad bit calls like that, but the referees allow you to play a lot more. And I mean, obviously coming into the playoffs, everybody knows everything. They know your first, they know your second, they know your third option. So it's more about playing with pace than just being able to play random. And I mean, obviously coming into that, I think as a young team that gives us an advantage because we're young, we got energy, we're ready to run. I mean, obviously it's our first experience, so we're going to make the most of it. And I feel as though this is a good test for us for the first round. Obviously coming against a former NBA team, NBA championship team. So just being able to go out there and play, I think it's going to be great for us.
Is that how you guys are approaching pace? I mean, because obviously when it becomes possession by possession, it may be harder to get running in transition. You guys just look at it as we're going to run as fast as we can and take as much as we can. Is that sort of how you guys look at it?
Oh yeah, pretty much that's been our superpower all year. I mean, I think we're one of the top teams in pace anyway. So it's like like I said, we're young, so we have the legs for it. We're just running, and we know that's one of our offensive weapons, is just us running. And not a lot of teams can compete with that, and that's just something that we're going to carry on with us throughout this playoff.
Top scoring bench in the NBA. How do you ensure that the second unit is an advantage in a playoff series like it was all regular season?
Pretty much just coming in and doing our jobs. You know, I mean, obviously everybody has a role, and as the bench, we know our role is just coming in and picking up where the starters left off, and just giving that extra boost of energy so when they come back in, we can make runs. And like obviously we got a lot of great players on our bench. Everybody, like I said, knows their role and knows what to do. So I think that's how that attends to our cohesiveness of just like being a great bench.
There's talk about shorter rotation, starters playing more in a playoff series, but at the same time, if the bench is effective, it doesn't have to be that way. Is that your goal, to play as well as you can and play the same amount of minutes?
Oh yeah, pretty much. I mean, our goal is just go out there and do whatever we can do to help the team win. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be able to control what you control, and if it's 5, 10, 20 minutes, you go out there and play as hard for that amount of minutes just to try to impact the game in a different way.
A full week. Do you feel like the depth of this team is an asset that can really help you guys over the course of the 7-game series?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, we got a lot of offensive weapons for our team, and we also got a lot of defensive weapons as well. And I mean, the beauty of our team is anybody can go off at any point in the night. You know what I mean? So it's tough to plan around that because you never know whose night is going to be. And I feel as though that's just something that we got to continue to keep going and just playing for each other and continue to play hard.
A full week between the end of the regular season and the first game. What do you like or not like about what that does for your prep?
What I like about it is it gives us the rest. I mean, obviously, 82 games is a long season. You know what I mean? You have normal wear and tear on your body, and being able to get any point in time of rest is good for you. I mean, the bad thing about it is, I mean, obviously, like I said, as a competitor, you want to play. You know, you don't want to wait for it. The anticipation is the thing that kills you the most. But like I said, just this rest for us is good for us because, I mean, obviously we had a lot of injuries, myself included, so just giving us the time to recover and get ready for the series.
How is your ankle today?
My ankle is fine. I mean, it's still sore, but I mean, I'm able to play through it. I'm going to fight through it regardless, you know. I missed too many games already, so.